What is that Brahman? Brahmaivedam amritam purastad Brahma paschad Brahma dakshinataschottarena adhascha urdhvam cha prasridam Brahmaivedam vishwamidam varishtham. This is the description of Brahman. This verse is from Mundaka Upanishad. Brahmaivedam amritam purastad Brahma. Whatever you see or otherwise grasp or perceive here, it is Brahman, the supreme reality, nothing else. It is immortal, amritam, nectarine. Brahmaivedam amritam purastad Brahma paschad Brahma. In front is Brahman, back also is Brahman, to the right and to the left, below as well as above. The whole universe is nothing but Brahman. Now this Brahma Darshana, if you are having it in full measure, there should be no scantiness. No. Drishte Parabrahmani. When Parabrahman has been perceived or has been realized, Sarvavasthitirasya Vastu Vishaya. For such a Brahmajnani or a Brahmadarshin, every state of his is Brahmic. It is not different from him. How does it work? Shankara puts it in this manner. Sampurnam Jagadeva Nandanavanam. We generally have a concept of Nandanavana, Indra's garden. That is Swarga. In Bhumi, Papa and Punya are mixed together. That is why we have corruption as well as non-corruption here. If 10 people are good, 15 people are bad. In one's own family you will find all people are not equally tempered and equally good or equally bad. So there will be a mixture everywhere. Sampurnam Jagadeva Nandanavanam. Indra's garden is supposed to be a contrast to this. It's a beautiful garden where all trees are beautiful, leaves are beautiful, flowers are beautiful, fruits are beautiful, creepers are beautiful, everything is beautiful. There is no dearth, lack or imperfection anywhere. This is said to be the description of Indra's garden. Nandanavana it is called. When the seeker attains his Brahman and he is fully immersed in Brahman, that realization becomes full, he feels that Sampurnam Jagad Eva Nandanavanam. The entire world becomes a Nandana Vana, the garden of Indra. He doesn't have to go to heaven. The whole earth becomes heavenly for him. Sarvepi kalpadrumaha. The tree of the Nandanavana is considered to be Kalpaka Vrisha, Kalpadruma. Our coconut has got that name. You know, after 3 years or 4 years, nowadays 5 years of planting, previously it was 8 years. By the time a coconut is planted, it sprouts, it comes out, casts its roots and starts growing, the leaves come. And it takes 8 years for the best tall tree to bear fruit. Now even in 4 years, 5 years it has started bearing fruit with cross-pollination, etc. So it is considered to be a Kalpaka Vriksha because ever since that period, as long as it lives, it continues to give you fruit. And every part of the coconut tree is equally beneficial. Some for burning, some for taking oil, some for drinking, and some for covering up your house with rafters, reapers, etc. Nowadays they can make even windows and doors. Many things are made with coconut tree. So everything is useful. It is said to be a Kalpaka Vriksha. So every tree will give you the feeling of a Kalpadruma, which is generally found in the heaven. Gangam vari samasta vari nivaha punya samasta kriya. Similarly, he doesn't have any differentiation between a worldly or a domestic act, an official or a divine act. Punyaha, very virtuous and holy. Samastaha kriyaha, all activities are equally holy, pure and sublime. Vajaha pragrita samskritaha shrutishiro. Whatever words he speaks, whether they are Prakrita, seemingly uncultured, or Samskritaha, extremely refined, no differentiation at all. Shruti Shiraha, all of them are equal to him as the words of Vedanta, the Upanishads. They are considered to be very holy Vedas. And when you come to Vedanta, the Upanishads, it is most holy. Similarly, whatever words he utters, there is no differentiation there also. Everything becomes equally divine, equally super, equally serene. Varanasi Medini. The entire earth becomes Varanasi for him. Not a very small town in the Uttar Pradesh. No. That is a physical location. His wonderful Brahmic mind, because of the Brahma Darshana, makes the entire land as Varanasi, Benares. This is the expansion and divinity he brings about in him. Brahma Darshana is noted for that. This is called Tatah Param Shanti Mupayiti Sakshat. He will not have a craving to go to any holy places. People will start coming to see him to have holiness. What is the difference between a knower of Brahman and so many other things, including the idols of the temples? The idol you can see. The idol will not see you. It will not speak to you. But a knower of truth, the moment you come, he will say, my dear son, daughter, please come. What is it that you want? So there will be an interaction possible, but the other, it is not possible in the other. Sampurnam Jagadevanandanavanam Sarvepi Kalpadrumaha Gangam Vari Samasta Vari Nivaha Punya Samasta Kriyaha Vaja Prakrita Samskrita Sudishiro Varanasi Medini Sarvavasthidirasya Vastu Vishaya Drishte Parabrahmani. Now, Kavi has completed his discourse. Actually, Nimi Chakravarti is seated in front of all the 9 yogins, and Kavi was the first one to speak. Now, after having heard what Kavi spoke, exposed, he is turning to the next yogi, and he is putting forward a proposition. Atha Bhagavatam Bruda Yad Dharmo Yadrisho Nranam Yatha Charati Yad Brude Yair Lingaihi Bhagavat Priyaha. See how the questions are framed. We all speak of devotion. Have you ever made such a question? Have you ever even asked imaginarily to your own God, my dear God, I have been worshipping you for a long while. I worship is a fact. Whether you are worshipped, I don't know. You feel that you have been worshipped by me? And is my worship acceptable and pleasing to you? And in return, do you have to tell me anything as your worshipper? Have you asked this question? What is the manner in which I have to live so that my God will be pleased? What should be my attitude towards the world? What should be my attitude towards my own family members? What should be my attitude particularly towards my children, towards my neighbors? And to the non-neighbors and members of the society, what should be our attitude? Have you ever questioned in this manner? Tell me something about my character, my behavior, my interaction, my values, my goals, my disciplines. What are the areas in which I have to improve? You know, in this corporate culture, there is something called, from the corporation in Indian offices, etc., they get a sheet and they give it to the general manager, even the managing director. Go read this questionnaire and tell us very clearly what are the areas in which you require to be informed or enlightened or trained. Are you good in marketing? Are you good in finance? Are you good in research? Are you good in human relationship? All these questions are asked. And these people have to answer it. And wherever they need training, they provide the training. That is how they bring up cultural and performancial efficiency in the people. Similarly, as good devotees, should you not ask your Lord, my dear Lord, please tell me, where do I lack? What shall I do? I want to speed up my progress. I want to come to you and I want to get you to me very soon, fast. What should be done? No question is asked. This is why this portion is so very important. God will not speak, but these 9 yogis were masterly people. Everyone was a spiritual master. Luckily, he got an opportunity while he was performing a yaga. So he asked them to sit, and after seating, see, Raja Uvacha, Atha Bhagavatam Bruta Yad Dharmo Yadrusho Nranam Yathacharadi Yad Brute Yair Lingaihi Bhagavat Priyaha. Now, tell me about Bhagavatam. What is that Bhagavata Dharma? Yad Dharmo Yadrusho Nranam. For the human beings to become devotees of the Lord, what is the dharma they have to adopt, practice and perfect? How will they be in their looks, in their talks, in their thoughts, in their ways, in their interactions? Yatha charadi. Where all will they go? Where will they remain? Will they always be clinging to their own houses and belongings? What will they do with their riches if they have? Yad brute. What are the special points which they will emphasize in their talk? Can you distinguish a devotee, a good Bhagavata, from his talks? Yair lingaihi bhagavat priyaha. Suppose we are moving about, how to find out whether one is a Bhagavata or not? So here he is asking, Atha Bhagavatam Bruta Yad Dharmo Yadrusho Nranam Yathacharadi Yad Brute Yair Lingaihi Bhagavat Priyaha. How to distinguish a Bhagavata? You see, you may have many friends, but have you ever thought of which friend is a good friend? By whose interaction will I grow in my devotional fondness and devotional evaluation? Have you applied this? No. You are only interested in making friends, to be eating commonly from a hotel. That's all. Go to his house, ask him to come to your house. This is all. But what is the type of talk that you are making? Do you know how to distinguish a Bhagavata? What are the devotional characteristics which will endear you to the Lord? If you are a miser, a Shylock, do you think God will be happy? Does God look for a liberal man or a Shylock type of person? Suppose you are always jumping at people, getting angry with people, disliking them. You may do a Shiva Puja or a Vishnu Puja. Do you think it will be all right? Absolute contradiction. In Gita, Arjuna is making a similar question. As soon as he heard Krishna for the first time, Arjuna said, I am being scorched by my sorrow. Please remove it if you can. So Krishna started speaking to him and then exposed to him the soul, spoke about Karma Yoga, etc. So right in the 2nd chapter towards the end, Arjuna asks a question. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadhih kim prabhasheta kim asita vrajeta kim. You will find the same thread everywhere. When there is a talk or a dialogue between a good devotee or a seeker and a knower of truth on the other side, you will find questions like this will be raised. Look anywhere you want. I was discussing Ashtavakra Samhita during our retreat session. Not fully here and there, I was running through. It's a conversation between the king Janaka and sage Ashtavakra. He put the first question to Ashtavakra. Katham jnanamavapnoti, katham muktir bhavishyati, vairagyam cha katham praptam, etad bruhi mama prabho. How to attain knowledge? How to achieve this passion? When will mukti or redemption result? Tell me, my dear Lord. See, specific questions. Arjuna is asking, Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha. Bhasha means description. Ka means what description? About whom? Sthita prajnasya. Where from did he get this concept? He got the concept. What? Shruti vipratipannate yada sthasyati nischala samadha vachala buddhi tada yogamavapsyasi. Krishna said. Concluding his narration in the second chapter, he says, Shruti vipratipannate buddhi. Listening to so many conflicting accounts from so many sources, when your intelligence remains unflickering, tada yogamavapsyasi. The poise of the intelligence is yoga, he said. Arjuna got the clue. The intelligence will remain so firm and poised. I want to know a little more about it. So he asked the question, Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava. When a man doing yoga sadhana reaches the state of samadhi and his prajna, consciousness, becomes sthita, stable, ka bhasha. Will you please describe it? How to lead the intelligence to such a state of stability and poise. And when one reaches that stage, how will he sit? How can we understand? He will not speak, of course, but I want an explanation from you as to how that state is reached and what he will be like. Sthitadhi kim prabhasheta. What does it mean? After all, he will get up from there. When he gets up from there, his intelligence is active. So whatever experience, enlightenment, vision and wisdom he had in his meditative absorption, that will act as a light, as a stock for him. And his whole view and perception will change. His behavioral pattern will change in the light of whatever he has experienced. Normally for our behavior, experience of external objects alone is the ground factor. Here he has experienced something inside. He has perceived the perceiver. He has known the knower. He has experienced the experiencer. One is a still state of the intelligence and the mind. I would like to describe it as meditative absorption. Meditative absorption. Meditation is something where the mind alone is exclusively employed. You don't have a garland to do japa. You don't make use of your eyes by looking at somewhere. Eyes are closed. The hands are interlocked, so to say, the fingers. Keep them on your lap. Sit as much straight as possible. Now the mind and the intelligence alone will be working within you. And there will come a stage when they become still and absorbed in their own inmost essence. So that is a state of absorption, as in sleep, but you are conscious of. Now this absorption cannot last forever. So you will wake up from that. When you wake up from it, for the first time you have experienced something within your body. So far your mind was used only to experience the objects of the world, interactions and interactional outcomes, and the memories generated by the process. Now for the first time, you don't have any memory as such. You don't have any interaction with the outer world. No thought, no inquiry, nothing. The mind is still, the intelligence is still, the ego seems to be suspended for a while. In such a full absorptional state, whatever you get is an altogether new experience. In other words, you come to know, what is this I you are constantly referring to? It refers to the self. Self. That self comes to light. So in the light of that self-knowledge, sthitadhihi, the intelligence remains firm. You are very resolute. Krishna has made a reference to it. Vyavasayatmikya buddhihi ekeha kurunandana. In the whole of the yogic process of excellence, yogic pursuit and excellence, that resoluteness of intelligence is very important, he said. So he becomes a man of stable intellect, stable mind. Sthitadhihi kim prabhasheda. What will he speak? Because he has found something new, a new discovery within himself. which he finds excels everything in this world. If the world is infinite, his self is more infinite. If the world is splendorous, the self is far greater in splendor. So he has understood. So in whatever he talks, this new insight, this new discovery and perception will have an ample place. Kim asida, after the days or intermittent interactions, when he takes rest, how will he rest? Normally people will rest physically on the chair or a reclining position, but their mind will be very active or they will go to sleep. In this case, what will he do? What is his restfulness? Where will the mind be? Vrajeta kim. Will he resent interactional life, or he will interact very freely with persons, places as well as events? Will his performancial efficiency increase or decrease? Will he become a better performer? See, Sri Rama was advised for 18 days by Vasishtha Deva. When Sri Rama was yet a prince of 16 years, and while Vasishtha Deva was giving him instruction, the whole assembly, including Rama, remained absorbed in their own self. Vasishtha stopped narration. When they opened their eyes, came to outer awareness, then only he began. Why I am mentioning this? At the age of 16, Rama had this kind of a spiritual absorption. So you can imagine what should have been his spiritual attainment. And then when he sat on the throne and ruled for a long time, how many things he did. He abandoned the throne at one time, and at another time he abandoned his own wife. Ultimately he abandoned his brother also. How could Rama do all this? The reason is he was a sthita prajna. He was a sthitadhi. Vrajayata kim. So this enhances interactional efficiency, skill and excellence. How did Rama have such a great and glorious life? What was behind it? It was the spiritual grace, the spiritual enlightenment which he derived after his prolonged talk and discussion, 18-day dialogue with sage Vasishtha. Now Arjuna is having a dialogue with Krishna for about 2 or 2.5 hours. The difference you can understand. The scenes and the settings are different. Arjuna belongs to the middle age. Rama was yet not fully an adult. All these happen. Now Srimad Bhagavata is telling you that our devotional progress and fulfillment is exactly alike the fulfillment, the growth and the fruition of a spiritual seeker. The yoga sadhana and the bhakti sadhana and the jnana sadhana are not different. They all converge at the same point. Taking devotion as a subject, King Nimi is asking the group of 9 yogis, Kavi already having spoken, he is asking devotional questions. Arjuna was asking yogi questions, spiritual questions. The answer is practically the same. You can see it. So in answer, where did we conclude? Kavi concluded saying that, Tataha param shanti mupaidi sakshat. Ultimately we have to reach a state of supreme quietness. Supreme quietness. This you should understand. So to this question, the person who answered was Hari. Hari Ruvacha. Sarva bhuteshu yah pasyed bhagavad bhavamatmanaha bhutani bhagavatyatmani esha bhagavadottamaha ishvare tadadhineshu balisheshu dvishatsuja prema maitri kripopeksha yah karodi samadhyamaha archayam eva hareye pujam yashraddhaye hate nadad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhaktaha pragrudasmritaha. These are the 3 opening verses of this section. Now instead of discussing them in the same order, I will reverse and discuss. Verses number 45, 46 and 47. I will discuss 47 first, 46 next and then 45. Because that is the ascending order of the discussion. Archayam eva haraye pujam yashraddhaye hate na tad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhaktah pragrita smrtah. I don't know how you will react to this exposure. I believe it should be a stunning exposure to all of you, at least most of you. In our country, devotion is extremely popular, very widespread, and colorfully so. We have various practices here in the area of devotion. In the south, by and large, animal slaughter is completely abolished by law.